Hi, in this Unity tutorial, we're going to do a scrolling effect. And this is something we could do for a two-dimensional game. So this is actually a 2D project, not a 3D project. And in this example, I'm going to show you how we could do scrolling. So this is what it's going to look like in the end. But now let's see, how do we do that? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a new scene so we can start from scratch together. And here's a new scene. And what I had done was I had drawn a picture of some clouds using a drawing program, and then I dragged and dropped that picture from a folder. Let's open that up here. So maybe for this one, we'll do the mountains. Okay. And I drag and drop that image in here, the sprite in here, and it comes in as a sprite. And I guess the first thing I'll do is I'll adjust the size of it. This white outline is the size of my game screen. So I just want to make the image about as big as my game screen, or a little bit bigger, just to make sure it covers everything. And then I could take that and drag and drop it here to make it a prefab at that size. Okay, so there's my mountains. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. Now that I have a prefab of it, I could just delete it. Bam. And I'm going to make an empty game object. And this is going to be my background scroller. Okay, it's just an empty game object. I think I have a cold. And to that, I'm going to add a script. And the script I already wrote, you can either take the time to copy it from the video, or you can visit my website and just get a copy of it there. Website's omarvision.com. And the script wants to know what I'm going to use as the background object. So here's my prefab, and I'm just going to drag and drop it there. Okay. Now let's take a look at the script to see how it's going to control the fact that I gave it this image and I want it to scroll that image. So let me double click here to open up the script. And here's the script. Okay. So first thing I did was I made a structure variable type, a structure data type that holds the sprite and the percentage that the sprite's position is at. Then there's two public variables here. There's the speed, which defaults to -1, and there is the background prefab object, which we saw that in the inspector window right here, the speed and the prefab. So we can let the user tell us what image we want to use. And then then I'm going to have to actually take the prefab that they're telling me to use, and I'm going to have to make 1 and 2 backgrounds out of that. So basically, if I had this prefab here and it scrolls, it's going to start up here and it's going to scroll through to the point where the end of the prefab reaches the end of the screen, comes off the end of the screen, and then it'll start over again over here and come through. So if I have one background image, you'll keep seeing like a blank out. But what I'll do is I'll have two background images. So as one is coming out, I could have another one that's coming in, positioned just right, and you never see a break. All right, so that's what this script's going to do. So let me just take out these that I just put in to explain how it works. All right, so the script, therefore, that's why it has two of these. It has the first background and the second background. Then there's a variable to hold the width of the background, because that's going to determine how long I have to scroll it before I reset it. Then I'm just going to store the position where I start. So once again, this would be like the start position over here, this little corner. And then the position where I end, which would be if I moved it all the way down and it came off the screen. So the position over here of the image, that's the end. So it goes from here and it scrolls back until x equals over here somewhere. All right, delete that again. and go back to the script. So when the game starts up, first it has to make an instance of the make the first instance of the background sprite, and that's what it does here, and it makes it a child of the background scroller object with this transform. This makes the instance of the sprite, and this one's position is going to be halfway down. And then I make another instance of the sprite. This one will be the second background, and this one's position is going to be like at 100% all the way over to the edge. So the reason I have 1 and half of 1 is because I have 2 backgrounds, and I want them to both smoothly scroll. Then over here, I'm going to have the width. So the width, I just get the first, I could use either the first background or the second background. I'm just going to use the first background's sprite, and I get the sprite renderer component, and then from the renderer component, I can get the size of that sprite. The X size is the width. So X start, where it starts, is going to be the whole width. This would be 0, and the whole width of the sprite would be how far the sprite goes out. I want it to start here and then scroll all the way till it gets to the end. So 0 plus whatever the width is the start. So that's why my start is the width. And then the end would be I have to move the beginning of the sprite all the way off the screen as far as it goes until you can't see it anymore. So that's minus the width. So this sets up all my variables. It makes the 2 sprites, and it sets up how far it has to scroll. Now in the update function is all the scrolling action. All right, so let's see, we got 2 images to scroll. So they're basically going to do the same thing, and the only difference between them is where their percents started. Okay, so on the first background image, the percent is going to equal a value from whatever the current percent is. It's going to subtract a little bit of the percent. Okay, so if it's at 0.5, it's going to subtract a little bit of it, so it's like smaller and smaller. And this repeat function means that as it gets smaller, if the value becomes 0, then it becomes 1 again. Okay, so this is the easy way for me to just have it go from 0 to 1 without me having to do a bunch of if statements. This mathf.repeat function is going to take care of keeping the value from 0 to 1. So this part right here is subtracting the percent value by speed. And you always do time delta time, whenever you're making changes so that they stay the same on every computer. And then this one is saying the value that is the maximum value that it's going to be. You don't have to say what the minimum value is because the repeat function, if you just look at the IntelliSense here, it says it's a value so that it's never larger than the length and never smaller than 0. So the length is the only thing it needed, and that's why I put the 1 there. So now we have a percent, whether it's 0.5 when it started and now it's going to be like maybe, 0.4. Now we just have to change that 0.4 into an X position to set. So we're going to use another math function called lerp. And what lerp does is it takes one value and another value, and from this value to this value, you just actually give it a percent. Like how far do you want to go from start to end? So if start is 0 and end is 100, then this value is 50, then that means it's going to give me back a 50. But that's how you think of using lerp. So this will take care of give me a value somewhere in the scroll position. And now this line right here actually just sets the position of the sprite. Okay, so when you set the position, you have to like set it to a value of a new vector, and this is going to use the xpos. And I'm not moving on the y, and I'm not moving on the z, so I just set the xpos. And then that's what I did for the background, the first background, and I basically do the same thing for the second background. So this code is the same as this, except everywhere that here it said first background, here it says second background instead. So that's the code. Here it starts at the top to the start function. and to the update function. All right, so I make sure I save the code and I come back over here and clear those errors. And let's see what happens when I press play. Let me just do a save. So this is my, just give it a name, scene 1. All right. And now I'll press play, and will it work? Yes, it will. And it works. So here you can see how there's 2 sprites. Each mountain top is one of the sprites. And as it comes to the end, the sprite comes back and moves over here again. But in the game, this is what the person's going to see. So let me click on the actual object that's holding the 2 sprites that are being scrolled, my background scroller. And here you can see there's the 2 children that it instantiated, the 2 sprites. Then over here in the inspector window, you could see there's the speed, which is now being set to -1. So the more negative I make it, the faster it'll go. The less negative I make it, the slower it will go. What do you think happens if the value of speed gets positive? It turns around and goes the other direction. All right, so basically that's it. That's what you need. There you go.